Hey, hey. Hello, welcome. Cool. All right. Looks like we are ready to go. Making sure my mic's on because it wasn't last week whenever I first started. So I said like a bunch of stuff and then the mic wasn't on. That was fun. I'm Marcie Billen. I am a resident of Norman, Oklahoma, and this is my weekly show. So my point here is to explain news in and around Norman so that you can understand our city and get to know it a little bit better, whether you live here or maybe you want to live here, you live somewhere else, maybe you used to live here. I don't really care. Thank you so much for joining. So hopefully I'm fun. We'll see if you guys think I'm fun. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments. Please say hello. Feel free to interject if you have something to add or a question. I will answer it as long as I see it in the comments, but I can't hear what you're thinking. So let's jump into the news and of course, pipe in if you have something to say. I am a real estate agent. You probably saw that on my thing, but I'm not here to necessarily talk about real estate. I do have one real estate story that we're going to talk about. I want to hear what you think. Okay, here we go. The first thing is that the Almanac, the Farmer's Almanac, came out last week. Now, this is old school, and I get that. Hopefully my mic is close enough. You guys can hear me. I feel like I'm not very loud today because I don't know. I've been talking a lot. But let me share my screen so that I can show you this. Nope, that's not what I want. Remove. Present. Oh yeah, I had to upload them. That's what's going on. And I didn't have that ready. I do apologize, but it's really easy. It's right here. It's not a big deal. Here it comes. So the first thing, the Farmer's Almanac. So what this is, if you don't know, for some reason, perhaps you've been hiding under a rock your entire life, but it's a little small, isn't it? That's fine. So it's like they call it like an old wives thing, right? Like, oh, it's not real. But it's a way that specifically farmers would like see when crops, when it was going to rain, or like specifically like for my grandpa, it was when the cows were going to be born. My mom even references it in strange ways, like, oh, the kids are acting crazy because it's a full moon, things like that. But what I wanted to point out was that it said that dig out those mittens and scarves. Old Farmer's Almanac sees cold and snow for Oklahoma this winter. So if you've moved to Oklahoma recently and I told you that we don't have, a bad winter, well, sorry. It's going to be a little colder, I think, than normal. So you can see from the map that I have up here that we're expecting like cold and snowy. Now, how much snow does that actually mean? I'm not really sure. But here's what they've kind of said. Let's see. Above normal precipitation and temperatures for November. Okay, so meaning more rain for November. Cool, whatever. Below normal precipitation and temperatures for December. So that means less. So it's probably going to get colder in December. Like I've been in some Christmases here where it is 70 degrees outside, and I like that, but that's my opinion. Let's see. Below normal temperatures and above normal precipitation in January. That means ice storms. Ugh. Below normal precipitation and temperatures in February, so less rain and lower temperatures in February and more rain in March, which we always have more rain in March. Basically, they're saying it's going to be a little colder and a little bit more snowy, possibly more icy this winter. So that's exciting for everyone. I know Brian is moving here and he said that he didn't want to buy pants. Let me see here. There we go. Because he only has shorts, is what he's told me in the past. That's what he means. It's because he's moving from a different state. That is a lot warmer than here. I understand. However, the wind is cutting here. Like it cuts. So be warned of that. All right, moving on from the fun cold weather almanac stuff. The next thing I wanted to bring up was our game day routes. So I'm showing you this because it's interesting. Like whenever I first moved to Norman, because I moved to Norman, I'm not from here. I'm from a town called Claremore in northeast Oklahoma, near Tulsa. This was a really big town to me whenever I moved here. The town I moved from was between like 15,000 and 20,000 people. Norman, I believe, was just like getting over that 95,000, maybe 90,000 person population at that point. So this was like a huge town to me. I'd never lived anywhere else. And the traffic on the first day, even as my parents dropped me off, was kind of incredible. So here I have the game day route. So I'm showing you this because there is certain ways that the cops want you to drive, right, on game day. And if you live here, you know not to go this way ever during game day. So whenever I leave the house during a football game, it's usually during the game. But I try to go the opposite ways, or I'll take like all these little side streets. So it's like saying to go all the way down to Highway 9 to get to the stadium. And like you totally can do that. But a lot of people are saying that it's super backed up on Highway 9, which makes a lot of sense because Highway 9 gets backed up anyway, no matter what, since there's a lot more people that live down there now. And you can go up these other streets like Chautauqua. That is how you say that. I know it's a lot of A-U-A. And then Jenkins, Classen. This is like where the cops want you to go. As a Norman person, as someone who lives here, I go all the little back streets, or I'll go way out of my way and then like cut north or cut south in order to stay out of game day traffic. But this is where the policeman's want you to go. They do close some streets as well, or make them one way for traffic to get in and out of the stadium. And last week at the game, so it was the first game last week, I think it was the score was like 73-0, something like that. They did have a train accident. So the train stopped on the track for like an hour and a half. That would be terrible coming out of that game, sitting in the hot sun all day and then having to sit in your car. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to all those people who had to do that. Okay, next thing we have is, oh, I just discovered this today. I haven't listened to this yet, but apparently the city of Norman does a podcast. And I can leave it in the comments below if you want me to. Just comment. I'm sorry. Just comment to tell me if you want the link to that podcast. It's about the city of Norman. I like hearing how like the inner workings of cities go and businesses in general. I think it's really interesting, and it just gives you an idea of like who people are and kind of what the goals are for a specific town, which I think is really important for everyone to be on the same page. So I figured that out today, which was really cool. And then the other thing that they started doing in Norman, which I thought this was, oh, that's the podcast. I totally forgot to change the slide for you. This one is that Norman, the city of Norman, and OU have created like oh, great. I'm glad you listened to it, Brian. Awesome. I'm glad it was informative. I always love an informative podcast. So the city of Norman created like a rideshare program for, it looks like it's for students. So this is, you can see it. I think you can just Google it. It's on City of Norman website. It's not in the paper. Like I read the paper, but the City of Norman website seems to be a little bit more on point about things. So this is where students, or I think anyone, can like call a rideshare to go ahead and get a ride from several places like Walmart. And this is all like late at night stuff or like early on Sunday morning so that they can get back to campus. Let me find it really quick. Here it is. Okay. So I thought it was interesting because I kind of was hoping it would be a little further out of town. So they're doing like Target, all the Walmarts we have. How many Walmarts we have in town? 5? I mean, it's a lot. We have 3 super Walmarts in town. So the point is because it's a little dangerous to walk around campus at night. So they want to help students do that. I'm hoping they'll expand it a little bit because I think that would be useful for a lot of people and not just students. But I think that will be a really good addition. Okay, next thing. This is very exciting to me. I am going to the meeting tomorrow where they're announcing, I guess, more information about this. So here's what happened. In 2018, the city of Norman was like, hey, we want to build a new, I guess, a new Lloyd Noble Center. So Lloyd Noble Center is like where they play basketball. It's where we have a lot of like big events. I think they play, I don't know, I'm not a sports person. You know what I mean? It's where the OU basketball team plays, amongst other things. And some people in the city of Norman were like, hey, we want to go ahead and build a new Lloyd Noble Center. And they were going to use this specific like tax thing that they were using for the area around Target to build this. And it got shot down pretty succinctly. Like everyone was pretty mad. So they are announcing that they're doing like $1 billion entertainment district for Norman. And this is going to include an entertainment center, kind of like Lloyd Noble, but I think it's going to be smaller or different somehow. They're doing one right now in Mustang, which is really interesting, or Yukon, one of those. They're right next to each other. You know what I mean? As they're also going to build retail shops, restaurants, bars, offices, hotels, which we really need hotels. And I was talking with some people about this week. But this year is the OU's last year in the Big 12. So next year we're going to be in the SEC conference or whatever, which apparently means that we are going to have like double the fans, possibly double the students, and we just don't have the infrastructure really in terms of hotels and places to stay and probably restaurants for this to go down smoothly. So I'm excited for this. Restaurants, bars, offices, hotels, and housing. I don't know what housing means. I want to hear more about that. I am a realtor, so that's very important to me. I'm really excited to hear what they're going to do. So it's some sort of large mixed use place. So they're doing like arena and then the retail stuff and other business offices. So I'm excited to hear more about that and what that could mean for Norman and people who want to visit Norman because of football. So cool. I'll have more information about that next week, so you'll definitely have to join. Next thing, my nose is super itchy today. There's some cultural things that are going on. Since we're heading into like a cooler month, September is mildly cooler than the rest of the summer months. We have some different things. Like one of the things going on, the powwow happened, or one of them, there's lots of them. But I always like to point this out because Native American culture is a huge part of Oklahoma, even if you're not Native American. I'm not Native American. However, it is really interesting to learn about and to know the history of the land that you're sitting on. So I think this is a really important thing. And if you can, it changed. Oh, it was in the wrong order. That's why. There, no. No, I didn't have it in there, did I? Guess not. All good. So yeah, I'm on the powwow one right now. But if you have the opportunity to go to things like this, you kind of get to learn in a way that you normally wouldn't. It's not like watching on TV. It's completely different. So I really encourage you to look for things. And one of the ways that you can do this is to go to the Norman Transcript website and look at local events, but you can also look on Facebook. It's usually a little bit easier. Norman Transcript website makes me want to pull my hair out sometimes, but I do get on it every single day, and it is helpful. Another website I like looking at is actually the OU Daily website. So that's the OU newspaper, and that one's really good also. So that's one of the big events that happened and that you should keep in mind if you live in Norman and want to check that out, or if you're visiting. Another thing is that the free fair is this week. So this is free fair, is the Cleveland County Free Fair. So last week we talked about the state fair going on. I think it starts the 15th or something like that. It's like next week. So free fair is just a weekend long activity. It starts Thursday, ends on Sunday. There's all sorts of fun stuff. I participated in free fair in my county, which was Rogers County, as a kid. This was really important to me. It was a really fun time of the year and something I worked all summer on. So this is something that if kids are involved in this, or anyone really, because I have other friends who are adults who enter things into the fair, then it's a fun time to sort of do something different, to be creative. There are people, of course, there's horse shows, there's, art shows, there's the baking contest, the cooking contests, and things like that. It's fun to walk around. A lot of times in a place, like Claremore, I tend to see a lot more people that I know. Cleveland County is a little bit bigger, so the population's bigger. You don't see as many people that you know. But it's still a really fun event and something that you can do locally that, I don't know, just kind of brightens the day, right? It's fun. Okay, next up is, let's see. Got this up here. Hispanic Heritage Month, another really cool, interesting thing to learn about. So one thing, if you didn't know about Oklahoma City, is that we have 2 consulates. So a consulate is not like an embassy. An embassy is only in a capital city. Consulate is like if there's a port somewhere, it's like an office of another country. So we have a Guatemalan consulate and a Mexican consulate, because it's really important for our residents here who are Guatemalan and Mexican. So there's, at the bottom of this article, this is in the Oklahoman. If you don't read the Oklahoman, I recommend it. It's just, once again, interesting to learn about your community and local things that are happening. But the Mexican consulate opened earlier this year, and we've had a Guatemalan consulate for a while. The Oklahoma History Center is running some special events this month for the Latin American Heritage Month, Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm sorry, it's hard to get the words right sometimes when I don't have this one memorized. But one of the main events here that they have is the Fiestas de las Americas, and this is going to be in the historic Capitol Hill district, which is going under revitalization right now. Lots of amazing food. There are some really cool restaurants, especially on TikTok, that you can see. That's where they cover a lot of the interesting food trucks and stuff that are in this area. They're doing a lot of really cool work to bring life back to this Hispanic area of town. So it's a lot of fun, and another thing that you should check out if you live here or if you're thinking of visiting. Cool. All right, my real estate story. Are you guys ready? Let me see. Yes. So this was interesting to me, partly because they're saying this is the first horizontal apartments to hit the Oklahoma City rental market, when Norman has these. So what am I talking about? What is this? Horizontal apartments. This is what's called a build for rent neighborhood. So this is up at Quail. Quail Springs is an area of Oklahoma City. There's a mall, and most people call it Quail, right? So horizontal apartments are just single family homes that a builder or development company is going to build specifically to rent out. And we have a few. I know of 2, maybe 3. I think 3 in Norman that are specifically built to rent. Someone built them, a company, I know the companies, and then they just rent them out. They don't sell these houses. There are some interesting pros to these and really interesting cons to these. So they have high-end amenities. They're built on small lots. Typically, the HOA or the management, it's not really an HOA because you don't own the house if you live there. They take care of your lot, doing landscaping and all of the lawn work and stuff, which is really interesting. Tommy Martin, hi. Yes, you want to retire in Oklahoma? Awesome. A lot of people do, especially from other states, and I totally get that. It can be a really great place to retire. There are so many options, so thank you so much for joining. So along with these build to rent, a lot of people don't want to own a house. That's great. Go ahead and rent. I totally get that. So this is for 24-acre build for rent edition. So this whole thing is going to be 24 acres. It's zoned for up to 230 bungalow style cottages. which I think is awesome that they're building small houses for people to live in. Do I wish that there were more small houses for people to buy to live in? Yeah, because I think that would be really good, and that's what people want. We just haven't seen that kind of development happening as much, which is really unfortunate. So this investment group, where that's out of Beverly Hills. One of my issues with this, right, is like people coming in from out of state and investing in our state when I feel like we could be doing this here, and investing with our own money and keeping the money here. I'm just going to tell you that that's my opinion. I think keeping our money in Oklahoma is really important. So they're building some different ones: Kansas City, Missouri, Whitestown, Indiana, and Bentonville, Arkansas, with some different people. So they're focusing on areas, it looks like, that have like rapidly increasing home prices is what I'm seeing here, because all of these have something in them. Like Bentonville is Walmart, specifically. Kansas City has been rapidly increasing their house prices over the course of years. I know there's something there. There's something headquartered in Whitestown that I can't remember, but they're building in these different areas. So built for rent housing is a fairly new twist on an old concept. I mean, it's apartments, but it's just it's no shared walls. So if you don't want a shared wall, and you want to rent, this may be something for you. So these houses, and you can look up this article, it's really interesting. I don't think it's subscription only. I do have a subscription to this, but they're saying it like fills a niche that people want to rent small houses, and I totally get that. And people don't like sharing walls. Another thing I completely understand. So here are some of the stats around this. So 1/3 of build for rent tenants, so tenants of a development like this, are going to be millennials, and 60% are single women, because they may not want to own a house, or have the means to, or that's just not like what they want to do with their money, and that's understandable. Build for rent additions fetch 24% higher rent than traditional apartments, but have a monthly cost that is 17% higher than single family home mortgage payments. It is going to cost more per month to rent. It's all about if you want to do the maintenance on your home or not. That is literally the difference between renting and owning. And of course, with renting, you're not paying towards your equity in your own house. Build for rent houses typically are built with 10 to 25 houses per acre, comparable to townhouses. Townhouses have 20 houses per acre, and then they're higher density than traditional additions with homes for sale, which is typically going to be 10 houses per acre. And a lot of people that I have that ask me to help them move to Oklahoma, they're wanting areas where they have like at least a half an acre or a full acre, because they don't want to be close to their neighbors. But that's just what I'm seeing as a real estate agent. The trade groups, the home builder groups, didn't necessarily have the best things to say about this. I think they're just kind of like, oh yeah, we didn't know this was happening, but it makes sense that it is. And one of the main things that people from Tabor Homes, which I sell a lot of Tabor Homes, I really love those homes, say is that, if you rent, the only thing you can look forward to is rent going up. If you own, then you're creating a path for wealth. Traditionally in America, the way to build wealth, one of the easiest ways to build wealth, is through owning real estate. But renting, honestly, is great too. It's just a matter of, is this the best thing for communities? Is something like build for rent. So I'd love to hear your opinion. If you want to, drop it in the comments. So please subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love to see you back here. I would love to hear from you. Hit that like button on this video if you would, so that more people will see these lives, and hopefully it will help more people. And I do these lives every single week, Tuesday, 6:30 Central Time. So I will see you next week. Thanks so much.